Let's confront an uncomfortable truth that sits at the heart of every great success story. It's not a truth about innate genius, privileged access, or luck. It's far more fundamental, and yet so many of us spend our lives running from it. The truth is this: monumental achievement is almost always the direct offspring of significant failure. The stumbles, the miscalculations, the projects that crumbled, these aren't signs of impending doom. They are the essential curriculum of a life headed toward impact. If you examine the biography of any individual you admire, you will find chapters of disappointment that were critical to their eventual breakthrough. Why do we fear missteps so intensely when they are the very forge in which resilience and wisdom are tempered? Consider the entrepreneur whose first 3 ventures collapsed. With each collapse, they weren't just losing capital. They were gaining irreplaceable data about markets, team dynamics, and their own limits. That data, hard-won and often painful, becomes the strategic intelligence no business school can fully provide. Or reflect on the artist whose early work was dismissed. That dismissal forces a brutal, necessary audit of their craft, pushing them to innovate or refine until their voice becomes undeniable. The path to mastery is not a straight line ascending a mountain. It is a series of switchbacks, where moving laterally or even slightly downward is often the only way to gain the footing needed for the next upward push. This brings us to the first and most powerful pillar of personal development: attitude. But we must immediately dismantle a common misconception. Attitude is not mere politeness or surface-level optimism. It is not about greeting someone with a smile, though that can be part of its expression. True attitude is the foundational operating system of your psyche. It is the decision to persist when logic screams to quit. It is the relentless hunger for a future that does not yet exist. It is the loyalty to a principle or a person even when it is inconvenient. An individual with the right attitude does not traffic in complaint or blame. They engage with reality as a problem solver, accepting full ownership of their circumstances. In the professional realm, discerning leaders have long known this secret. When evaluating potential, they look past the resume's list of skills, which can be taught, and directly into the candidate's character fabric. They ask themselves, is this person a learner? Do they demonstrate grit? Are they accountable? Because you can train a skilled employee, but you cannot easily instill a resilient, proactive, and principled mindset in someone who lacks its seeds. This is why, in the long race of career and life, attitude isn't just important. It is the primary determinant of altitude. Your skills determine what you can do. Your attitude determines how much of that potential you will actually unlock and how you will navigate the inevitable obstacles. So, if attitude is the engine, what is the fuel and the chassis? This is where we build the second pillar, the personal development system. This is a structured integration of will, foundational knowledge, and practical skill. Let's dissect each. Will is the sheer force of your intention. It's the inner commander that mobilizes your resources when motivation flickers and dies. But will alone is a brute force. It needs direction. That direction comes from foundational knowledge. Think of this as the geological survey of your chosen mountain. It's the deep, often unglamorous understanding of principles, history, and theory. A software developer who only learns the latest frameworks without understanding core algorithms and data structures may build things quickly, but they will hit a complexity ceiling that those with a stronger foundation will breach. A leader who studies management fads but not human psychology or systems theory will struggle to create lasting change. This knowledge is the bedrock. It is slow to acquire and doesn't always yield immediate, visible results, which is why so many neglect it for the shiny allure of quick hacks. Yet, When crisis hits or innovation is required, it is this bedrock that provides stability and insight. Upon this bedrock, you construct the house of practical skills. These are the tangible, executable abilities: coding, public speaking, financial analysis, persuasive writing. Skills are the tools that turn knowledge and will into observable value. However, here lies a critical insight. The world today does not reward isolated skills. It rewards skill stacks, unique combinations that make you a multifaceted problem solver. Perhaps you combine coding skills with an understanding of biology to work in bioinformatics. Or you merge design skills with psychology to excel in user experience. The magic happens in the intersections. Are you building a disjointed set of tools? Or are you consciously crafting a synergistic stack that makes you uniquely valuable? Now, we arrive at the third pillar, the one that transforms a solitary quest into a legacy: the ecosystem of relationships. This is the most misunderstood and underleveraged aspect of growth. The myth of the lone genius is just that, a myth. No one builds anything of lasting significance completely alone. Every monumental achievement in human history, from scientific revolutions to social movements to corporate empires, was the product of a nucleus of committed individuals. Success in its fullest sense is a collaborative art. Therefore, your goal must shift from, how can I get better, to, who can I bring with me and who can I join? This is not about networking in the transactional sense of collecting business cards. It is about the deliberate, patient cultivation of what I call disciples. Not in a religious sense, but in the sense of trusted allies, core team members, and mutual mentors who share your fundamental values and are committed to a shared journey of growth. Building this ecosystem is an active discipline. It starts with being a person of value before seeking value from others. It means offering help without an immediate ledger of return, understanding that genuine generosity builds social capital in a currency that compounds over time. But it also requires the wisdom of discernment and the courage of strategic refusal. Your inner circle, your phone's favorites list, your inner sanctum of advisors, must be curated with extreme intentionality. It should be a small, dense network of high-trust, high-competence individuals, not a vast, shallow sea of acquaintances. Every relationship you maintain consumes emotional and cognitive bandwidth. Are you investing that bandwidth in connections that drain you or in those that energize and elevate you? Think of a master craftsman. They don't just perfect their own technique. They eventually take on apprentices. In doing so, they solidify their own knowledge through teaching, extend their impact through their students' work, and create a lineage. Your professional and personal growth operates on the same principle. When you find your disciples and help them grow, you are not being diluted. You are building a platform that amplifies your efforts and creates resilience. Your network becomes a latticework upon which greater weight can be distributed and taller structures can be built. Finally, we synthesize these three pillars into a single, powerful framework: the personal development ecosystem. Attitude is the immutable core, your internal compass. Your system, the will, knowledge, and skills, is the vehicle you build and refine. And your relationships are the navigation network and the fuel supply that allows that vehicle to travel further, faster, and over tougher terrain than it ever could alone. This ecosystem is self-reinforcing. Positive attitude attracts better relationships. Strong relationships expose you to new knowledge and skills. Enhanced skills and knowledge bolster your attitude with confidence and competence. The challenge, then, is not merely to acknowledge these ideas but to conduct a ruthless audit of your current position. On a scale of 1 to 10, how robust is your attitude when faced with setbacks? Is it a well of resilience, or does it crack under pressure? How systematic are you about building foundational knowledge versus chasing the latest trend? Have you mapped your skill stack to identify gaps and synergies? And most importantly, who are the 5 people you spend the most time with, and what is the net effect of that interaction on your growth trajectory? Are they disciples in the making, or are they anchors? Transformation begins with this honest assessment. The journey from where you are to where you want to be is not a mystery. It is a physics of the mind and of human connection. You must generate the internal power, attitude, construct the right vessel system, and connect to the right grid, relationships. When these 3 elements align, you create a state of momentum that is difficult to derail. You stop merely seeking success and start architecting an environment where success becomes an inevitable byproduct of your daily practices and partnerships. This is the shift from chasing outcomes to engineering the conditions that produce those outcomes. It is the difference between being a passenger in your own life and being the chief architect of your destiny. So I leave you with this final reflection. Your next level of growth is not hidden in a new course, a new job title, or a secret formula. It is waiting to be unlocked by the deliberate strengthening of these 3 interconnected pillars. The blueprint is now in your hands. The only question that remains is this: what will you build first?